Hello and welcome to The Good Book Life. This is a brand new channel with me, Donna Scott, author, editor, owner of the Slab Press, and every Friday I'll be bringing you a bookish chat. Now this week I have been discussing the National Year of Reading with authors Lisa Fransson and Maggy Whitehouse, and we're discussing the decline in reading standards in the UK and what the campaign is doing about that. So here we go. This is The Good Book Life. Heard about this? It's 2026, the National Year of Reading. Hashtag Go All In is the byword, and that's what the National Year of Reading want us to do. Is they want us to celebrate the written word and encourage more people to take up reading as a hobby. And there's a lot of it focused on children, and there's some of it focused on adults, but what do they want? Is it working? What is the need? And I thought this is a great topic for discussion. So I've asked some authors to discuss this with me. And Lisa, I don't know you very well, but I do know Maggy from the world of comedy, as we have previously shared a stage or two.
We have. I've laughed a great deal at you, but only in the right way.
Yes. And Maggy, you do have quite a bit of a CV, don't you? You not only are you an author and a comedian, but what else can you tell us about yourself?
Well, I'm an independent sacramental priest. I'm ordained in the Catholic faith as a kind of way of trying to bring the feminine back into faith. Author of 22 books, former journalist, World Service journalist, second ever British female breakfast DJ, written books about China, about faith, an expert in Judaic mysticism. This thing behind me is Jacob's Ladder, part of the Kabbalistic Tree of Life. Nothing to do with the Kabbalah Center, a much older version that rests on the Bible and works with the oral tradition. I have beagles, I look after horses, I live in Devon, and I'm incredibly happy.
Excellent. I would say Jacob's Ladder, my favourite Tim Robbins film.
Well, there you
go. And also Lisa, so tell us about you.
I am an author and translator, so I'm actually a bilingual author. I write for adults in English and I write for children in Swedish. That's just the way it's been divided. And I'm a literary and technical translator, but I also mentor young writers.
Lovely.
Excellent. Okay, so I've been involved in the National Year of Reading so far in that one of the things that I do is organise events that help to promote literature in the region. So like at the moment, I'm currently working with MK Lit Fest and organising the Indie Book Fair for them this year. So we were looking at the National Year of Reading and signed up for it and got some information, and I wondered if there was going to be something that we could use to sort of help sort of like bring the ethos of the National Year of Reading into our activities. But I found that it wasn't a very useful site in that it's basically, if you have a project, they would like you to put their logo on it. Is what I was finding. Can I ask you, as you were interested in this topic as well, what is it about this topic that interested you in wanting to speak about it today? I'll ask Maggy.
Well, I suppose I've got some opinions, really. One of the things that I know we're all dealing with around reading is overwhelm. And at the moment, every year, 350,000 books are self-published in America alone. So, and of the books that are published by publishers, that's 50,000. So we are so overwhelmed by the amount of stuff that's out there, literary stuff, reading stuff, as well as all the internet stuff. And I think that's really quite difficult for people because we're losing the attention span that's needed for a good book. And even though I've been a voracious reader since I was a little girl, and I'm quite sure that my mother reading to me was part of that. because she would read to me every evening, and I would want to go on with the story. She would read from a comic, or she'd read from a picture book, and then she read from novels, and that gave me the interest in it. So I'm thinking maybe with all the screens we have, where children aren't being read to particularly nowadays.
Yeah, so that might be part of it. I know that my interest in books started pretty early, but
Yeah.
my mum didn't really read to me. We had one book. We had one book about a fairground when I was little, and when I got bought it, I took it to nursery school until the teachers told my mum to stop me from bringing the book into school. But that's how fascinated I was by the existence of books. And that's when my mum joined me into the local library. And so I basically read. Yeah, I don't know if anyone's had a small library near them, but you're not allowed to sort of like go into the big part of the library until you're 14. You get the special card, and I basically read everything in the librray twice, pretty much.
I lived in
some
the
books,
library
a lot more
too.
than that.
Yes.
I'm going to ask you, Lisa. So what about this topic interested you?
Yes, what interests me, I'm actually a picture book author in Sweden. So reading for children is something I actually do. I go into preschools when they ask me to and read. But one interesting assignment I had was to go into like A-level students who were studying to become nursery teachers or leisure leaders, like for leisure activities. Because they were the generation with who the phone started with, and they haven't actually really learned how to read to other people. They can read, but they didn't feel comfortable reading to children because they didn't have that within them. So I had to go in and have a 3-hour talk and a demonstration on how you read a picture book for children. So that's what worries me, I suppose, is that the generation that starts as nursery teachers now don't necessarily feel comfortable to read books themselves to children.
Oh, that is interesting.
That is weird. It's one of my favourite things to do as an auntie.
Yes.
I put on all the voices.
Yeah, with one of my picture books, I actually have a little puppet show that I've made myself. So I brought that in and showed them how you can use props and how you can get the children to make things from the picture book afterwards. It's just not confined to a book.
Yeah.
The story.
Let's think. I've only got one. My youngest nephew now is 10, so I think we're beyond picture books for him, which is a real shame. He does tell me what he likes to read, which is nice. I thought I had an image flash into my mind there of me reading to my 42-year-old nephew, and because there's like, yeah,
you never get too old for picture books.
I miss that.
You never get too old for them. I still buy them for me.
Okay, so talking about the year of reading and it being a year-long program with events in schools, libraries, communities all across the UK. Have you seen anything that has grabbed your eye, or is there anything that you've got involved in? I know, Lisa, if you're working in Sweden, you probably already have like this campaign going on all the time anyway.
Well, it's become law now in Sweden that every school must have not only a library but also a qualified children's librarian. So I suppose that would be the
aim. Move to Sweden immediately. Yes.
Yes. Yeah. I can't believe that it's a thing now, because that is one of the things that have been. There is a report that I shared with you guys, which is the UK Parliament report and the National Literacy Trust about what they want to do, and there was like saying that as an access issue that they would like all schools to have libraries, and I was thinking, why don't all schools have libraries?
Yeah,
it seems so strange that they would build a school or have a school. I say build a school. Sometimes these days that they've done one in the old post office down the road. It's like all these businesses taking over schools now, and they just make a school out of a pre-existing building. But you'd think that a library would be part of the integral design of that setup. It's really weird that it isn't.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, we've been campaigning for our local library because they were going to cut the opening hours, which would be critical for people in Oakhampton, our town, and we've managed to win that campaign. But one of the things that seems to be so silly, but it's very relevant, is there's no parking space near the library. You've got to pay for parking or go further downtown and walk for a good 10 minutes to get to the library. And I think that if you had better access to the library, it would be much more helpful for people, because you could just pop in. And we're a very driving culture down here in the southwest, because it's the distances between towns, and very few bus routes and very few train routes as well. So we're very reliant on the car. So to have a library that's inaccessible by the car is quite a difficult thing for us.
Yes. Do you think there's a case of bringing back a mobile library? Maybe some of the villages still have those.
There is a mobile library just up the road from us, but unfortunately, you can get through all the books in a year. They're not that wealthy that they can top up books. I quite often give them copies of mine. I do reverse theft sometimes, which is I'll just go to a library, borrow a book, and just shove one of mine in because somebody might like it.
Oh, yeah, the curse of the Dewey Decimal System.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's accessibility is an interesting question, because they have become less accessible simply through being closed as well. Like talking about the mobile library, when where I lived before, there was a big bus that would come every Tuesday afternoon, and the kids would go after school into the bus and borrow books. But as soon as they started these cuts, I don't know when that was, to 2010s, the bus disappeared.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it seems to be that has been the case with a lot of smaller towns, in that the cuts, for one, have affected the footfall than the other, and that has then led to decisions being made that are perhaps crazy. I always think of Stuart Lee, who's talked about like this sort of like the what do you call it? The credit crunch being caused by Wolverhampton having too many libraries. Honestly, Stuart Lee doesn't stutter.
I used to work in Wolverhampton. It does not have too many libraries.
I know. I used to live in Wolverhampton. I used to be one of those people who lived between Wolverhampton and Dudley, so I had both the libraries. But yeah, so and of course, what I'm also an evangelist about is BorrowBox, because that is access to books for everybody, including comic books. You can get digital comic books through your Kindle or even on your phone. It's one of those things that we were talking about with reading decline, when people have time pressure, but they're always on their phone. So you want to make that kind of handy. It's like, yeah, the library's there for you on your phone if you want it.
Difficulty with that, if you've got your library on a iPad or a tablet or your phone, is the temptation always to just have a quick look at something else.
Yeah, the old
Whereas
attention
if you've got
thing.
a book and you have, and I have a rule that 1 day a week I take a Sabbath, which means no internet. And that is the day I'll sit down with a book.
That's a really good, I think, positive thing. I think,
yeah,
that's good. Like to find a day when I'm not working so that I can not answer my emails for that one.
Well, I know. And people often say to me, oh, I can't switch my phone off. What if somebody needs me? And sometimes I say, maybe you need to be inaccessible sometimes.
Yeah.
It's like make libraries more accessible, but yourself less so.
Yes.
Like it.
Yes.
Yeah, that seems to be some sort of magical formula, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so I had some stats about reading enjoyment. So the declining reading enjoyment for children. So we've got only 1 in 3 children aged 8 to 18 who enjoy reading, and that's the lowest level we've had for 20 years. And I was going to say, would you say this is a cultural shift that seems to be focused on phone use? Because I can't think of anything else that has increased that much in 20 years.
Yes, it may be. And I went to a lecture by one of my former publishers, Alan Sampson, who was the boss of Orion a while back. And he said one of the reasons he thought there was a decline in reading was because so many books now are written by celebrities or ghost written by celebrities. So they're all very samey. But the
Formulaic.
publishers have this huge pressure to publish people who they know are going to sell.
Yeah.
And for example, the amount of murder mysteries with featuring vicars now, vicars are only useful for murder mysteries, but they're all, you know, Richard Coles and people like that. And one of my friends who's a Baptist minister, very well known in London, has just written a murder mystery. And you just think, okay, but we got all this lack of new genre. Do you know what I mean? We haven't got that really. But if all the celebs are writing about vicars solving murders, there comes a point where you just think, I'm up to here with vicars solving murders.
Yeah, it's a tricky one. I mean, and celebrity authors is a whole another topic, I would say. They're squeezing shelf space, and yeah, I was on the board of the CWIG of Society of Authors, Children's Writers and Illustrators Group, and I helped create this campaign called We See Ghosts or something. It is to give more credit to ghostwriters.
Yeah.
But
well,
yes,
if you like a book and you know who the ghostwriter is, you go and have a look to see if they've written anything of their own as well, which would be great for them.
Well, yeah, that's what they end up writing books for celebrities that they get a fat paycheck for, whilst they get nothing for their own books. Anyway, that's a different topic.
It is a different topic, but it is valid because celebrity books are a very, very big genre, which is pushing out, together with the self-published books, maybe pushing out independent publishing stuff, which is really attractive to children. I'm afraid, because I don't have any grandchildren of reading age at the moment, that I don't know what all the pony books are like at the moment. But I was a horse mad fanatic as a child, and I read every single pony book there was. But I did notice that once we got My Little Pony, we got the jazzy little pretty pony things, there was a lot less coming about real horsemanship. That was just in my youth that I noticed. So it may be that we're getting so much jazzy My Little Pony, fantasy ponies and unicorns, that we're not getting stuff that genuinely horsey children can get their teeth into, about working in the stables and that kind of thing. That's just my view, but that was the kind of book I absolutely adored when I was a child. You know, Jill Has a Pony, that sort of thing.
Oh, maybe that's also to do because, like, remember in the 70s, loads of working class people had horses. That now you think of that as a very rich person's animal thing. Like, you don't have a lot of like working class horse owners generally, and but yeah, they used to keep them in like the stables in between the pub and the school.
Yeah,
in the middle of my town. I used to go and help her.
Yes. But maybe kids aren't doing that quite so much anymore anyway. And the stables down the road doesn't have a load of kids every Saturday, just like they used to have. So maybe the whole thing is about being hands-on in life as well as hands-on with books.
Yeah,
I think so. And to answer the question you're asking, what's distracting us? I think there are various contenders. I think we have Netflix, we have so many streaming services, and kids do a lot of gaming, which is kind of storytelling. I think that's definitely a storytelling. It feeds the storytelling need, I think.
Yeah, the gaming industry keeps a lot of writers in work. I must say that, because I know people who write the story that happens when you play a game.
Yeah. Also, the genre, like this murder mystery and the gaming things, it does take us more into battling with each other. You know, opposition with each other. It's always somebody who's going to win the game, who's going to do the best in the game. Whereas in the old days, when you sit with the book, it was just you and the book. Nobody had to win anything. And that changes the mindset. And it wasn't always about solving the mystery, you know, one person coming to save you, solving the mystery. It was more about working through the process of everyday lives with people, which it's the same thing, you know, with religion, because I'm still very interested in the Bible because I can read it in Hebrew and Greek, and I can retranslate it from the feminine point of view because it's always been translated by men. So I can actually go back and rework these kind of things in a way that is more interesting for people now. I've got good following on Instagram because I'm saying, well, what if you translate this as a woman? What if you say, actually, you take it in a slightly different direction? So I think we may be lacking a certain amount of authors and people who are just sort of saying, come into this in more depth. Let's give you a little story. Now you write a story on the back of that. You know, make it real for you. When I do babysit for children, I don't always read them a story. I'll tend to say, let's make up a story together. And I'll start the story and say, Catherine, what's the next bit? And Michael, what's the next bit? And that gives them absolute joy because they're creating.
Yeah.
Rather than just filling in on a game that's already been created for them. We need to be creators. It's natural in our bones, I think.
Yes, I agree.
About imagination and play and encouraging that, and maybe as well we should like work at sort of not abandoning that as we grow up as well, not try to grow up too soon. Like other stats that I have, 1 in 5 young people read daily in their free time, and there has been speculation that maybe we're just keeping youngsters too busy. Perhaps they've got too much homework, too much learning for tests. And then tech competes heavily for children's free time. And then when we get to adulthood, children are 25% more likely to read to be read to daily if parents enjoy reading. So there's the need to re-engage adults as well. And it also, there is a socioeconomic shift there as well with who's reading to who. And maybe it's because everyone's like just trying to sort of like just get by, earn money, fill their time, or their time is filled for them. They find those other passions, including reading, that they've got less time for. So one of the things that they said about the National Year of Reading is that to go all in is like, if something interests you, then why not read about it? And they use like football. So like, if you want to know what it's like to be a footballer, why don't you read one of their memoirs? Not Ryan Giggs.
There's also the fact that we don't have boredom anymore.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
And I think
boredom is the root of creativity, or at least it certainly was for me as a child.
Yeah, and I think there's an element of parents, certainly if in middle class parents, of like not wanting the children to miss out, so they take them to all these different clubs and classes, and like it's almost like a competition thing. I had my kids in a school like that, and it's exhausting.
Yes. Oh yes, taking the kids to swimming one morning and then to ballet or to this or to that,
karate, and
So we're basically going so fast that a slow thing like reading a good book, and there is nothing in the world like a new author, and 5 chapters into the book you go and look and see what else they've written, and you realize they've written 20 books and you love them, and that feeling of actual security. Oh my God, I've got
it's like returning to a friend, or it's like making friends, isn't it? You get to know these people. I know. But I also think snobbery is like, I think you mentioned that, Donna, that kids should be allowed to read what they want, and adults as well. That there shouldn't be any judgment. Like, I read Tarzan comics as a child. I loved them, like, in the 1970s. And I think a lot of people think I am a snob because of my reading habit, but I will actually read anything. If it's well written, I'll read absolutely anything. So it's just finding this joy and finding almost like your gateway drug to reading.
Yes.
For want of a better word.
Comics were that for me. I would read comics like Beano and the Beezer, or all those, as well as the girl ones that I was supposed to read. And by the time I was 14, I was drawing these little stick people cartoons and telling stories too, because of reading the comics.
Yeah.
And of course, now we've got all this AI art, which means that people don't have to bother to be an artist. I've got a friend who's a professor in California, and he's come up with a really good way of dealing with AI, because, of course, a lot of his students have started writing essays with the help of AI. So he now sets them a thing which says, right, ask AI this question and then critique it and how often it's wrong. And actually his students are enjoying that, because they've got the stuff in front of them, but they're using their minds to look into it rather than just taking it as something normal.
I just love how sycophantic AI can be as well, because it's like, oh yeah, that's a great idea. Is it though?
Great question.
It's such a great idea. I wouldn't be brainstorming with you, would I?
No.
No. So my springboard, not my actual idea. So we've got a few minutes left of our chat. We have I've got some funding and infrastructure. So what would we do if we had big pot of money? What would we do to try and get people reading? Where should we spend our money?
Ooh. I think reinstate all the libraries and do hire school librarians, make sure even preschools have a space for books, and also encourage all adults on public transport. Like in tube these days, you see phones. If adults read, kids will read. So if everyone were to sit with a book like they used to, I think that would cause a real shift.
Yes, and time at school where you sit with a book, where maybe the class about sitting reading a book.
Of your choice, not
of your choice. Oh yes,
yeah.
Absolutely, of your choice, and not being denigrated if you talk about that book afterwards. But yes, and I read Everyman's Talmud on the tube when I was commuting 50 minutes morning and evening. I would never have read it if there had been smartphones, but I'm so glad I did.
So that's what I love about a library quick choice stand. You go in and somebody else has gone, I like this. So you go.
A friend of mine had an idea of having slot machines to get a book out at stations, and it did happen for about 6 months, but people just went by on their smartphones because they could get stuff for free. But I think it would be lovely to say, have a book every time you get on a train.
Yeah, there used to be, I think, did you ever do book crossing?
Yes, I do. That's that with my book.
Yeah, you basically have a book and you put like a sheet in the front of it to say who had it and when. And when you've read it, you leave it somewhere. Here we go.
So you have a number here, and then people can register it on the website when they find it.
Yeah. So that's another thing, to spread the love that way of a good book. In a plastic bag is usually good, because around here there's very raining.
So I totally agree. It should be libraries. It is the primary thing, making libraries accessible. And I've never borrowed an audiobook from my library because I'm still a bit nervous about it, but actually I should do it. It would be a very sensible thing to me to do, to go and borrow an audiobook from the library. Much better for the town and for me than going on Audible all the time.
Yes, I borrow them from the library and listen on the bus and when I cook and when I wash up.
I listen when I drive and when I run. Yes.
I was going to say, and because you are often trying to choose from what's available because they only have one copy, and it spends, you can only listen to what somebody else isn't listening to. That kind of like forces you a little bit to pick something that maybe you wouldn't have chosen.
Yes.
So,
well, that was the wonderful thing when I was a child, because I could have 3 books. And you wanted those 3 books because you weren't going back to the library for another 3 weeks. And I would read voraciously, read under the covers with a torch in the old days. And you'd have to find something else. So the 3rd book was always an experiment. And I also had a wonderful godfather who every year would give my brother and me left field books. You know, the Life of the Capybara or the Phantom Toll Booth or something that I would never have chosen. And that was so helpful. So I think one of the things that relatives and for presents could do is just give children books.
Yes. Yeah. And I do that. Rather than the book token, I've given book tokens before, but no, like you will read Stephen King. There you go.
Yes. Yes, on the one hand, we need to be unconditional about books, but sometimes we need to set a couple of boundaries and say, try this.
I mean, my Uncle Dave gave us some of his old books, and that's how I discovered Tanith Lee when I was little. So probably a little bit young for them, but never mind. It's a lifelong love.
Yeah, but you're never too young for a book. You're always going to, if you can't get into it, you'll get little bits out of it if it's going to be right for you later, and you'll hold it for later. They're like little sparkles in your life. I'm not ready for that book yet, but I want to be able to read it.
Yeah, I agree. I was thinking what you said, Donna, about this idea of not getting your library card till you're 14 to go into the big library. I fundamentally disagree with that, because children are excellent self-censors. If they don't like something, they'll just chuck it. And if it's too scary, they'll just chuck it. I think children should be able to read absolutely whatever they want.
Yes. Never tell them it's too old for them. Let them
No.
dive into it. I read Lolita when I was 11. Didn't understand a word of it, but I was still ready.
Probably the age, to be fair. Look out for creepy old guys.
Probably kept me
Yeah.
safe.
I read James Herbert, The Rats, at the same age, I think. Don't know.
And I can't remember who wrote it, but Incubus. That is very scary.
Different scary though.
I think we were all at school. We were reading the Thornbirds at school.
Yeah.
And Virginia Andrews.
Yes.
And that was what we really liked. They had a little bit of a risque nature about them, and it's like, ooh.
That's another thing. In those days, you got your first sexual kicks from a book, because you know somebody's going to have sex in this book. Somebody's going to see somebody's boobs in this book. Oh, it's so excited. Whereas now you can just go to YouTube and go boobs.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, Judy Blume, we love you. Yeah, that's how we discovered it all. Okay, so yeah, that's the thing. I'll probably say, like, if there's any dads watching, hello dads, one of the best things you can do is be seen reading in front of your kids. That's what I've discovered from some of these reports. I will put the links to these reports in the YouTube comments so that you can go and read. We have been sharing about things like the gender gap. So there are things like boys aged 11 to 16. They're showing the steepest decline in reading at the moment. And for us to be able to reach them, the books have to seem relevant. They have to think that reading is for them. And I know there was a thing that one of my nephews did at school. It was girls got given one book and they got Louis Zachar's Holes. And I was thinking, no, Louis Zachar's Holes is good for everybody. But yeah.
Yeah, it's a great book.
Yeah. And also mental well-being. Reading is linked to improved mental well-being. Perhaps we need to communicate this a bit better as well. So any final thoughts on that?
I don't know where I would be without reading. That's my thinking. I had the library. I don't know if I would, I would not be who I am without it.
No, when we were on holiday when I was a kid, I had my own little suitcase that was just full of books every single time. No, reading is, if you read a book, you go into that world in a very different way from how you are watching the television, because you have to use your imagination. That's why sometimes films can be so difficult when you've read the book, because they're portraying the people in a completely different way from how you saw them. But you invest who you are, you identify with one character, and you have conflict with another character, but you're in that book. You are a real person in the book, but you need that depth of the book to be in there, to exist in it, and it changes you.
It does. And no two people read the same book ever, because you bring so much of yourself into the book.
Yes, absolutely. Sometimes I reread my own novels, and sometimes it's not so much that I'm impressed by the quality of the writing, but I just love the plots. Because I'm writing for me, you know. I sometimes think, I need to read some Velvet Morning again. I just need that piece of hope in my life.
I must say, do sometimes reading your writing, go, I wrote that. Why can't my brain like that today?
And you also find every single literal in there, because no matter how good your proofreader, there's always going to be a few.
Okay. Right. So, have you got some of your latest work to show the readers, and what are you working on at the moment, Lisa?
That's my novel, my debut novel, The Shape of Guilt. And what am I working on? I'm working on a short story collection, and I'm researching novel number 3, and I'm writing Swedish children's books.
Jolly good.
Oh, Maggie's on the move.
I'm rushing to the bookshelf.
I should also say I write on Substack.
At the moment, I'm writing a book called What If? Reimagining Christianity as an Entirely Feminine Faith, starting with Elohim, the goddess, which is in chapter 1 of Genesis, because Yahweh, the guy that everybody else worships, only turns up in chapter 2. But these are my wonderful, so happy to have written them novels, Tales of the Blue Panda and Hounds of Heaven. and the third one is called Some Velvet Morning, and they're about a vicar,
lovely.
because I'm a vicar, dealing with the afterlife and helping souls go through. And the second book's all about how our beloved pets go through and where they go to and how we can go back to them. So that one, most of my books I write for me. I started writing the books that I couldn't read. So all my books are about basically girls who were unhappy, isolated, felt unloved, who find redemption through something. Horses or dogs or faith or whatever.
That's lovely.
Oh, marvellous. Okay, and of course the Slab Press has lots of anthologies out right now, including the latest, which is God, you can't remember what I was. We've got Obsidian. Obsidian. Good grief, Donna. Be prepared. And we've got Screams and Wells coming out in the autumn. So there we go. I'd just like to say thank you once again for joining me, Lisa Fransson and Maggy Whitehouse. It's been brilliant talking to you. And hopefully we'll get to talk to you again in the future on some other amazing topic. And,
Thank you, Donna.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Lovely
Yeah,
meeting
thank
you,
you.
Lisa.
They're really lovely to meet you too.
Likewise. Okay. And bye-bye at home. And I will stop recording now. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.